So if you cast your mind back to 1970, I think it was 1974 this first one was made. The ending of that film is Leatherface dancing in the wind with a beautiful sunrise in the background with his lovely chainsaw partner. And then there were many sequels and reboots following that, and I have not seen them. I don't care to see them. I will at some point, I'm sure, but I have not seen them. But when Netflix said they were going to make a direct sequel to the first one, I was like, you know what? I think I have to watch that, right? I think it would be a sin for me to see that opportunity and not take it. So today, we're going to be talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released in 2022. It was written by Chris Thomas Delvin and directed by David Blue Garcia. No spoilers, but the general idea here is it takes place 50 years after the original movie in the 70s. At this point, the town, I forget the town's name already, I literally finished watching this 5 minutes ago. The town becomes a ghost town, no one lives there, or so they think. So this group of teens is like, you know what, let's go, and let's renovate the place a little bit, and let's auction it off, let's build a town, you know what I mean? It's 2022. We might as well build a freaking town, right? Why not? Now's a great time. So they go into this town with a huge bus full of people, and they're selling property and having a good time, and then they accidentally evict someone who lived there, who happened to be the mother of Leatherface. Being upset with all this, Leatherface's mom dies, and Leatherface gets angry and starts to murder people with a chainsaw. That's the basic gist of the story. There's a lot more to it. I will go in depth to some of the beginning parts, but I will leave the ending to the imaginary, into your imagination, because I don't want to spoil anything. But the main thing that kind of caught my eye for the first half hour of this film is how much it tries to be relatable, it is trying so hard to be like, hey, we know it's the Texas Chainsaw movie, but also there's this guy who is upset about the Confederate flag, and there's this girl who survived a school shooting, and there's this girl who like this, and I'm like, whoa. That's too much tragedy for me, for one. For two, none of these things are innately relatable. Yeah, they're awful. I agree. I 100% agree. Confederate flag should be banned in the United States. I 100% agree. I also think school shootings are bad. I'm not saying that they're good by any stretch of the imagination. But, why is it important to this story? And the only one that kind of makes it, I'm not going to say it justifies it, but there is only one character here that actually exhibits reasons for why their backstory matters, and that is the girl that survived the school shooting. That alone was kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool and messed up, but also, why does it matter? And then towards the end, it kind of makes a little resurgence. You're like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Well, I don't like the school shooting, but I like how it kind of blends in together with that. Sorry, my nose is so itchy today. So I liked that a lot. I liked how it kind of blends together with that. But almost every other backstory, which is also tragic, has nothing to do with their actual character. Particularly, unfortunately, I guess, there's this one man in this movie that's really great. He's a black man, and he is very upset about this Confederate flag, as he should be, because Confederate flags are awful. Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of his character. We just don't, and so it doesn't really matter, and it feels like a big deal for it to not really be a big deal later on, and that's just an example of one of them. There's 5 main characters in this movie, each one having a tragic backstory that doesn't really get used later on down the road, so I kind of wish they had taken a step back and maybe given us a little bit more of Leatherface's, what has Leatherface been doing for 50 freaking years? I don't know, no one knows, so I wish we kind of got a little bit more of that maybe, but anyway, that's just something I really noticed in the first half hour of the film that I was really frustrated with. Then we kind of get into the murders, of course. The first murder was freaking awesome. I was expecting it for one, but for two, the way that it happened was I was like, oh, wow, this is a lot bloodier than the first movie. It was kind of really cool. And the special effects in the movie are very good. The blood is very good looking, very top-notch looking. It's great. The first murder is freaking awesome. Horrifying, but freaking awesome. And then we kind of move into it a little bit. We get to two main characters that are fighting off against, Leatherface. There's this great massacre scene, which the first one wasn't really a massacre. The first movie, it was more of like, 5 people died. But this one, he's like, oh, hey, look at this giant group of people. Like, I thought that was really, really cool, really fun. I was like, oh, wow, this is really fun. And then, I forgot about this side plot, which is done that it's a side plot, but Sally from the first movie, from the 70s, comes back. And she's like, I've been waiting 50 years to kill this guy. And I'm like, he hasn't done anything for 50 years, for one. Like, what the hell? And two, I did not give a shit. I don't care about Sally. I didn't in the first movie. I don't now. And she's like all offended when he doesn't recognize her. She's like, you don't recognize me? And Leatherface is just like, no, he wouldn't. He's not going to recognize you. It's been 50 years, for one. And for two, he's probably killed many other people besides, like, just that one group. So, no, I don't think he would, and you shouldn't be offended by that. You should just kill him. And that brings me to my next point, which is there's so many opportunities for people to just kill Leatherface in this movie, and they just don't. They're like, oh, I could kill him, or I could run, or I could go next to this gun. And it's like, bro, like, just fucking kill him. Like, is it that difficult? I don't think it's that difficult. Just do it. They have so many opportunities. And then the heroes, like, never die. Like, there's this one person, I'm not gonna say who it was, but Leatherface, like, grabs his chainsaw, shoves it up her body, moves it up and down her chest cavity, and then lifts her off the ground with the chainsaw. And, like, she's basically split in half at this point. And then, like, 10 minutes of movie go by, and then we walk by, and that person that's laying on the ground is like, I'm alive! And I'm like, what? No, you're not. Like, no, you're not. You're very, very, very dead. And if you're not dead, you shouldn't be able to move your arms or your mouth or anything. You're basically dead. Like, why? Like, there's so many moments that, like, actually possible that, like, that just kind of ruined the whole movie for me in terms of almost like, oh, this is kind of believable. He's just massacring it. Why is she alive? She was lifted off the ground by an active chainsaw. What? I just found that really dumb. And there's a couple things that Netflix is doing with this movie that I kind of find interesting, so I figured I'd talk to you about them in case you're interested. Netflix typically releases movies on Wednesday and Thursday for the most part. They've been dropping a couple on Fridays, but it seems like they're getting more and more popular with Fridays, which means they're open to competition, right? So they drop a movie on a Friday that is going to compete with other movies because it's dropped on the same day as other people's attentions, right? So, like, today, it's going to have to face off against Uncharted and Dog and The Cursed, all of which are probably going to do better than... Dog and Uncharted will probably do better than Texas Chainsaw. But the thing here that I'm getting at is Netflix is considering itself more of a mainstream movie production company, which is fine. I'm cool with it. But I'm curious to see if they're going to revert back to just dropping it on Wednesdays. Because I get they're trying to add competition because more people are going to search for movies on Friday than they are on Wednesday. It's just true. But on Wednesday, they have no competition. So I'm curious to see if they go back to that. And in typical modern cinema fashion, there's a freaking end credit scene to this movie. What the hell? I always Google right when the credits start to see if there is an end credit scene. And I was like, oh, there's not going to be one. And then I Google it and I'm like, there's an end credit scene for this freaking movie? Why the hell? Like, I don't understand. Just watch it and you'll be very disappointed. But it does seem like they are setting up a sequel. The ending of this movie sucked so bad. I'm not going to talk about it because spoilers, but, like, I was like, oh, it's kind of ending on, oh, are you kidding me? Like, come on, it's so cheap. But whatever. No, I'm not looking forward to the sequel, if there is one. I doubt the critic reception is going to be that good for this movie. It can't be. It's not, like, the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not even the worst Texas Chainsaw, I'm sure. But, like, it's just not entertaining enough and not interesting enough to be a good movie. It's just kind of a regular, run-of-the-mill, thriller horror film. And so I'm going to go ahead and give Texas Chainsaw Massacre a C. Have you guys seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about it. It is streaming on Netflix right now if you are interested in checking that out. It is on Netflix. It's only like an hour and like 20-something minutes, so like that was pretty nice. I woke up at 8 and I was like, all right, guess we're doing this today, and I did. So, I mean, that was kind of nice. It was kind of a breath of fresh air to watch something short, so that was kind of nice. But check it out if you're interested, and please consider subscribing if you like what you saw. I would really, truly appreciate it. Helps me out a whole lot. It keeps the channel going, so that would be wonderful if you could consider doing that. And as always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.